Most of us have learned many life lessons from our careers. Here are 5 things I wish I knew before I started my mental health career. Number 1, burnout is real and you have to have a self-care routine. So as a woman of color, I definitely did not know the concept of burnout or even the term self-care until I started graduate school. For anyone who hasn't heard the term burnout, it really simply means that we have a myriad of stress that is happening over and over again in our life, and we're essentially feeling the stress of it and burning out. In my mental health career, I'm in the field of helping people, and so this is where burnout can be really high because you are dealing with people's emotions and life challenges and supporting them through this process. And I learned this my first year because I got exhausted with all the work that was happening. I was also taking on more work than was needed. That's a whole different conversation for another day. But I realized that I got sick simply because I was so incredibly exhausted. And I learned very quickly that I needed to have some sort of routine to help take care of myself. Number 2, it's okay to say no. So many people who are in the field of helping find this to be a difficult thing to do. The reality is, if we keep saying yes to more things without really asking whether it's helping us, how it's impacting us, you're gonna have a toll that it takes on your body and on your health and on your mind. So it's really critical that we learn to say no to things that maybe we don't have the capacity for, or maybe we don't necessarily have the desire or ability for at the moment because there's so many things going on in our lives. So I remember this was something that was pretty challenging for me in the beginning of my career, to say no to things or projects. And I remember I realized part of the fear for me in saying no was thinking that people would think of me a certain way, or I would upset someone if I said no. The irony was that no one got upset and people generally respected when I said no. A lot of the discomfort was in me when I was avoiding to say no. Number 3, get to know yourself. It is incredibly important, in especially mental health profession, that you get to know yourself, because you're helping people get to know themselves. That's the whole concept of therapy or coaching. And so it's so incredibly important that you get to understand who you are and how you show up in the world. This means really getting to know what is something that annoys you, what is something that excites you, why were you open to helping a particular person over someone else. And I really mean without judgment, looking and getting more aware, because oftentimes we can feel critical of ourselves for knowing that we might have some preferences or some things that show up for us in different situations. But the reality is we all have preferences. That's just human nature. But the more we understand how our humanity shows up in the room, the better we're able to not only serve the people that we're working with, but also understand what might be some support that you may need in those situations, whether it's consulting with your supervisor or consulting with your peers and colleagues. So really take time to get to know you. Number 4, understand that you are doing the best you can. So many times there have been instances where I've looked back at a particular situation and realized there are so many things I would want to change or do differently. But the reality is I'm able to have that perspective because I'm in a different situation at a different time looking back, which means I probably have more information than I did at that time. So often we look back and think about what we would have done differently because we have more information as we're looking back. So allow yourself some compassion and realize that you are doing the best you can with what you have. Show up in the best way possible. Allow yourself to be compassionate and recognize that you may not always make decisions that you can be absolutely 100% certain on, but with all the facts on the table, you're trying to make the best decision, not just for yourself, but also for the clients that you're serving. And then finally, this is one that I am still learning and growing on. Bet on yourself and take risks. I know as a social worker, this was something that was incredibly challenging for me when I was switching from being an employee to now being a business owner. It was the scariest thing I had done. And entrepreneurship really forces you to bet on yourself in ways that employment may not necessarily do so. Now, I'm not saying that when you get promoted or if you have a project that has a lot of eyes on it from your company or your agency, that you're not having to bet on yourself. But I find that with business ownership, it's a constant need to have to bet on yourself, because if you don't bet on yourself, then not many people are going to do that. So this is one that I'm learning as I grow my business, as I have more years under my belt as an entrepreneur, because it is important that I recognize the skills that I bring to the table and let the imposter voice kind of take a seat, even if it's coming front and center, but really allowing myself to recognize that I can bet on myself. And when I do, I am able to be more open to taking risks, which generally is going to help me grow and help me learn and allow me to challenge myself. What are some of your life lessons that you have learned from your career? Please share and let me know. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and follow me on social media at The Indian Counselor.